Hello and welcome to Bible in a Year. It's day 54 and in the Old Testament we're in Exodus 33 right through to 34. And there's a couple of things just I think worth reflecting on today. One, I love this whole stuff in this passage today about the presence of God. There's a sense that the presence of God, in other words, himself, is the tangible sense of God's very real self, and it is drawing. So Moses goes and he hangs out with God face to face. There's this the friendship that is there, and when he's there and when the people of God see that the presence of God has come down, they stand and they worship. There's a sense that when God is around, there's only one response, and that's to stop and to gaze and to love him and to worship. And we see this little glimpse of that, not just in the people generally, but in Joshua, that when Moses would eventually come away from the presence of God and would get back to the day job, it says of Joshua that he didn't leave the tent, it says. And there's a sense that there is something so wonderful, so captivating and magnetic that is irresistible about God's presence. And Moses sort of unpacks that more when he says, I love it because God says in verse 14, my presence will go with you and I'll give you rest. And then Moses comes straight back and says, if your presence doesn't go with us, don't send us from here. Even though God has already promised his presence, Moses is like going back for extra a reassurance that this presence, God himself, this is what marks out this people as being different. And Moses saying, we don't want to go anywhere where you're not. And then it goes on. So there's this an introduction really to the presence of God, but then just some stuff really on the character of God, because what we've got that's unique in this passage here is the way that Moses and God would speak to one another, and the passage sort of points out how different this was to what he had with anyone else. There's a friendship there. And when Moses, based on that friendship, Moses is able to be quite cheeky almost, where he says, I want a bit more than just hanging out with you like this. I want to see your glory. And then they have this whole sort of incident around that. But then God himself speaks. And it says in 34 verse 5 that God stood before Moses and proclaimed his name. And in the Old Testament in particular, this word about name was not just saying I am God or I am Ali, but it was about the character. And so when he proclaims his name to Moses, he says, this is who I am. And I think this is really key for us, because when God goes in, even though we know that God is holy, we've been exploring that in this book so far, and there's so many things that we know and we understand to be true about God, the way that God introduces himself, the way that God headlines himself is this: the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to thousands and forgiving wickedness, rebellion and sin. And so even though he goes on to unpack other aspects of his nature and the punishment of sin and certain things he expects, his headline is, this is who I am. I'm loving, compassionate, forgiving, gracious. Let's hold on to that truth today. God bless. See you soon. Bye.